What's up, everybody? We are back, Necromaniacs podcast, episode number 22 on this beautiful August afternoon. We are back at the Necro compound this time after last time's joint effort of, let's say audio experimentation.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yes.
And I hope everyone's enjoying their summer. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of cool stuff going on this summer, and hope everyone's having fun.
Yes, Mike, you were on tour for a couple of weeks.
Well, about a month or so.
for a month, yes. Mike was on tour for a damn month.
Yeah, and that was fun. That was good times. We were out with this band called Fit for an Autopsy and this other band called Moontooth. And all three bands are located, based out of the Northeast, the tri-state area.
Right.
So it was good times, man. A lot of good friendships were made in that tour. Everyone got along really well, and everyone kind of had that same sense of humor that you have in this part of the country.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
I have to ask, did you get to see a movie in a theater by any chance?
No, I did not,
okay.
man.
Did not.
Yeah, we had a day off, but it was a travel day.
Gotcha.
A
Okay.
lot of long drives, especially out west.
Yeah.
And I would love to have been able to take that time and escape from the confines of the van.
I am really behind in my summer movie viewing. I mean, I wanted to see Planet of the Apes, haven't seen it. I did see though that shark movie that came out in June. The Meters Down, whatever Meters Down. The name's escaping me, and I have to say, not as bad as a lot of people are saying. I actually kind of enjoyed it.
I'm not a big shark fan, I'll be honest with you.
I'm a shark movie guy. I like shark movies.
I like Jaws, and Jaws too.
Of course.
But that's really about it for me. I did see a couple of things, though, since I've been home. I saw the movie Life.
Okay.
Did you see that?
No. Nope.
Did you have any thoughts, pre-thoughts about it?
Is that the movie that starts out with literally a baby actor, and then it shows his whole life? Oh no, that's something. That's another movie in itself.
Entirely.
Life.
Okay.
Life is about aliens, right?
Yes,
okay,
I didn't see that. Science fiction horror film, and right around the time The Void was getting hyped up, this trailer got snuck in too. Mm-hmm. So I was already maybe in that mindset of oh cool, alien sci-fi, horror. And the trailer made it look like a hell of a movie, and it's got Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and I'm like, oh man, I got to see this movie, and then I went away and I couldn't see it really, couldn't coordinate any kind of movie venture, and when I got home, I saw that it was available as a rental on iTunes, so I rented it one night. Okay, oh my god, what a fucking disappointment, man!
Oh, I thought that oh my god was the good oh my god. I got a little ahead of your oh my god.
Nope, it was one of the most disappointing films I've ever seen. Because I was really looking forward to seeing it, and it just became. The whole premise of it. You know what? When people start doing stupid shit in movies, and then it just never really had any tension. And
I guess that's why it kind of disappeared. The movie.
Yeah.
The movie actually disappeared.
Yeah.
I feel like it was out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it had great actors in it. I like Ryan Reynolds.
Sure,
yeah.
Gyllenhaal,
It was cool. The ending was kind of good. But it doesn't matter.
And the trailer was good.
The trailer looked great, right?
Now that I'm remembering.
Yeah. And now it's that goes to show you that the art of making a trailer sometimes sells a movie that's not so good.
I'm thinking that's what happened to this Valerian movie that has disappeared off the face of the earth. That trailer was the greatest thing I had seen all year.
Yeah.
And then, wow, man, apparently it's a really messed up movie, and not in a good way. It's just horrible, I heard. So I do kind of still want to see this Valerian movie, though.
Yeah.
Because it just looks just so like such a trip, And that Carla, whatever her last name is so pretty in that damn trailer. Oh, yeah. I just want to see the movie just for that only. Mm-hmm. But yeah, apparently it's not a good movie.
Nah, I want to see. I'm still going to see it. And then I started Game of Thrones. I saw that half of the first episode.
I've been enjoying the first 3 episodes.
I fell asleep, and then I have to rewatch it.
Okay.
But what a great beginning.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. Mm-hmm. And also I started the first episode in the Castlevania Netflix series.
See that I'm going to check out.
What I like the most about that is that it's American animation. and it's not just like, I mean, this is not my bag, the Japanese style.
Me neither. Not a big fan. No.
But it looks good. It's it's like it's an adult treatment of Castlevania.
See, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
I used to play the video game as a younger lad, so yeah, that's kind of fun.
And I saw a teaser trailer for American Horror Story Season 7 Cult.
Well, maybe I'll finally jump in and watch another season of American Horror Story. It's been a while for me.
I'm not gonna say that American Horror Story is good. I'm just going to say that I enjoy it.
I maintain that it's kind of sort of like for people who don't like horror. I'm going to maintain that. And a lot of people say that about Walking Dead, and I don't get mad at that because I like Walking Dead. I mean, I love Walking Dead, and I have horror friends that say that about Walking Dead. So,
I mean, I'm comfortable with liking American Horror Story because I also like Flock of Seagulls. And
exactly.
I consider myself.
Hey, man, I know what you're saying. I saw, Culture Club last year.
Yeah.
And I didn't need a support group to say that. I just said that out loud just now. So there you go.
But I'm part of the I'm biting on the new American Horror Story Season 7. It looks pretty cool.
Right.
So what do we got in store for everybody this time around, Mike?
All right. Well, with the sad passing of George Romero, who I did get to meet once in my HorrorCon going days. Well, days that they're still going on. I say days. About 5 years ago, I met him at a chiller. He was the coolest guy, would not stop smoking cigarettes, tall as hell, but such a friendly, nice guy. Talked to everybody who, the hundreds of people waiting to see him. With his passing, we decided to do something not from the original trilogy, but from the latter trilogy, the first movie in the latter trilogy, which is Land of the Dead from 2005. And then we'll also be tackling one of the biggest movies of the year in Get Out, which came out earlier in 2017. And then a new horror movie that you can get online. And, of course, if you buy your physical copies, which did not have a theatrical release, called The Evil Within.
Should be good.
Yes. So I guess we can go right into Land of the Dead. Let's go back in time, Mike, to 2005.
2005.
You and I didn't know each other yet, but we were a year away from knowing each other.
That's right.
And I'm going to say 2005 was right at the beginning of the horror comeback, maybe almost slightly, I wouldn't say pre, because the Rob Zombie movies had already happened. 05 might have been that first year, I think, of the horror, resurgence. Would you
definitely
agree?
the resurgence of zombies. Because,
yes, but Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects came out that year, and I feel like from 05, 06 on, we started seeing all these cool new horror movies again, both American and, of course, the French films and the European movies. So I feel like Land of the Dead is a bit of a precursor, definitely for the zombie stuff that was to come. And also for like the love of horror again, don't you think?
Yeah, it was right in there because 2004 was the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which kind of like threw some light on the sort of dormant zombie era. Because all through the 90s, horror was dead in the United States all through the 90s.
Yes, it was. People like to say, oh, but what about, and then they'll name a movie that didn't do very well and didn't resonate very well, but they like it. But in reality, no, there wasn't a lot going on aside from the, of course, Scream franchise, which, we're
ironic take on horror.
Yeah, exactly. There was nothing really super cool and exciting going on.
One of my favorite films, Event Horizon, came out in the 90s.
Yes, there's just few and far between. It's not a huge list of movies.
The Ring, I think, was in
The Ring
90s.
was later. Yeah.
But 2004, 2005. So that's like that. We're looking at a pretty dry spell of horror in general, and specifically, the zombie era kind of ended in what, like 87 or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
I think it did. I think Return of the Living Dead was like one of the last movies that really did something for zombies, at least in America. The Return of the Living Dead sequels, hot and cold. There was that Return of the Living Dead Part 3, which was in 92, which is kind of a cool movie.
Yeah.
But again, it just, I don't know, there was nothing that resonated as much as what would come in the next decade.
But the George Romero sort of like canon was revitalized around this period of
Yes.
time. So, we had the remake by Zack Snyder in 2004. In 2005, we have George Romero coming back.
A brand new movie,
with a
new vision. Right.
A brand new entry, the beginning of the second 3 films of the zombie saga.
Yeah, and this one, this time around, he has a nice budget from Universal Pictures. Almost, somewhere between $15 to $20 million, which is no chump change. And the movie came out in June of 2005 and had a really nice cast. Simon Baker, John Leguizamo, Dennis Hopper, Ozzy Argento. And it actually even had, what's his name on the special effects? Greg Nicotero.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Is a household name now. I mean, if you knew your horror back then, you probably knew his name, from his other works. But this movie is kind of like the pre-Walking Dead experiment of sorts, like these earlier Romero movies. No, I mean,
I think so. Before we go any further, though, I want to mention one more cast member. We got Robert Joy as Charlie.
Oh, that's right.
Now,
yes.
What's important about him is he was in Desperately Seeking Susan.
Is he one of the boyfriends?
He's one of like the cool Lower East Side.
Yes, that's
80
right.
Guys,
Oh my
guys.
God!
Yeah,
wow.
Like, the guys with the good hair.
Yeah. That movie was on somebody's iPad on the train the other day.
No way.
This young girl who looked about 23 was watching Desperately Seeking Susan on her iPad, and I was just like,
I think
wow.
that's a good thing, man.
Yes, I almost wanted to go. You go to her, but I did not because I'm a grown ass man.
Did she look like a cool sort of girl?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. I was like, wow, how do you like that? A 32-year-old movie. Excellent. I believe it's from 85. Might even be 84, but I think it's 85.
Somewhere in the early 80s, mid
80s.
Yeah.
But we digress. Yeah. The thing is about this movie, I was saying before the podcast started, I saw it in the theater back then, and I think I liked it back then.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen it in a very long time, and I rewatched it this past week, and my love for it is not the same, I think, now. I think I've just seen much better zombie things since. And even though this is from George Romero, and it's probably terrible for me to say this is not his finest zombie hour for me.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I just think the genre has been taken, like in the last, 13 years, has been taken so far past where it was at 2005. Also, the special effects, even though Nicotero is killing it in Walking Dead, special effects in this are a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, the zombies look weird, and they kind of don't. Some of them don't even look like zombies. They have this bizarre. I don't know. The facial structures are not there, and like the rotting is not there, and the movement isn't there.
And the prior year in 2004, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, the zombies looked great.
They did, and even though they ran, they did look great. And Mike and I are fans of that remake. And I would say the success of that remake got George Romero this movie. A lot of people would probably argue, and this budget. But I don't know. They're just this movie. It doesn't have the vibe. I mean, look. I guess in the mid 2000s, you're not gonna have the vibe of the 70s to the mid 80s. No. But it also didn't have any kind of like intense or scary vibe. Like I wasn't scared in the slightest throughout this movie.
There was no tension.
Yeah. No. Right.
And the story. I think that really. It was kind of similar to like most of the whole Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Trip, Day of the Dead. There's like a kind of like a political subtext to everything.
Yes, this movie has that. And just to say a bit about the plot, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this movie. Some of you might not have seen this movie. It's years after the zombie apocalypse has gone down. Survivors have set up outposts across America. One in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where there's a feudal-like government. So it is kind of cool that it does take place in Pittsburgh, this movie.
Pennsylvania based.
Right. It's bordered on two sides by rivers, and on there's like a electrical fence on one side. It's like a sanctuary city. The rich and powerful live in this luxury high-rise called Fiddler's Green. That's where all the, the rich people who made it out of the apocalypse live. And the rest of the population subsists in squalor, pretty much. Paul Kaufman is played pretty awesomely by Dennis Hopper. He's good at this movie. I'll say that.
Hopper, yeah.
He's the ruler of the city. Has sponsored what's called Dead Reckoning, an armored personnel vehicle that can travel through the zombie cities with ease. A little thing about Dead Reckoning, that was what this movie was shot by, the name of Dead Reckoning, the script.
Oh, really?
This movie was called Dead Reckoning during the making of this movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Not Land of the Dead. And Simon Baker's character, Riley Denbo, is the designer and commander of Dead Reckoning. Unlike the Kaufman character, Riley is respected for his work in protecting his citizens and providing them with food and medical supplies. And he uses Dead Reckoning, for good, basically.
Yeah, doing some recon out into the wasteland there, and,
exactly.
Getting supplies, that kind of thing.
So they go on these missions, and they come into like this area where there's like this all these sleazy things happening. There's like a fighting pit, right? And this is where we meet Asia Argento's character, Slack, who's been forced into a cage to fight zombies. And it kind of turns into a bit of a rescue mission. And, it has some kind of cool moments like that, like these cool kind of action pieces. Yeah. The movie is more of an action movie. Don't you agree?
I'm going to say it's kind of like how Aliens versus Alien.
Yeah.
You know how like Alien itself was a gothic horror film.
In space, right.
In space. And then Aliens 2 was like an action adventure shoot 'em up.
Yes.
So this has a lot of that vibe to it where it's like not necessarily straight up horror.
Yeah, it's like a zombie actioneer.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Then we meet John Leguizamo's character, who's a Dead Reckoning second in command. And he's a bit more of a nastier dude than Riley Denbo, Simon Baker's character is. Right, named Cholo de Mora. He's trying to live in Fiddler's Green, and of course, Mr. Kaufman's not having it, and there's a bit of a falling out there.
Well, he was doing some of Kaufman's dirty work.
Yes,
too.
exactly.
They were like disposing of bodies. Like there was like this whole pretense that, this was. I guess the movie kind of opens with de Mora's last day of work. He's going to retire from being a guy that runs out into the dangerous zones.
Denbo, yes.
And there was this pretense that once he finished this job, he was going to get a certain amount of compensation and be able to live with all the elite people in Fiddler's Green.
Right. And again, that brings up,
treachery.
Romero is definitely good at having these subtexts in his movies. Because they're in all of his zombie movies and possibly all of his movies. Period. He's very slyly politically minded, without being overly political. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's like it's definitely kind of like this anti-corporate, like ruling class, like more populist kind of champion kind of vibe to Romero in general. And this movie definitely typifies that.
And let's face it, what he did with Night of the Living Dead in 1968 took a lot of balls. Casting a black lead who's like the hero of the movie in a horror movie, like in a black and white, zombie horror movie, it was freaking awesome.
Totally.
That's the thing about George Romero. That was kind of like a bit of his calling card in a way, where his movies have this kind of social subtext to them, and that's what separated him a little. Like Wes Craven, you could kind of say the same, but in a different way, though. Definitely class struggle in Last House. On the left, sure. But I think as time progressed, Wes Craven got a little more into some other things. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Romero kind of kept that kind of calling card a little closer to him. One could argue.
That's the one subtext. Is kind of like the anti-establishment, clash between the populist middle class and then the elites. But then there's also another subtext here where we have the zombies themselves.
Yes.
And the African American zombie, who is
Big Daddy,
who's demonstrating some intelligence.
Yeah, that's the other kind of curveball with the zombies in this movie. He's kind of almost talking. kind of.
He's like giving direction. He's communicating.
Yes, right, he's communicating.
Now, though this is a cool little twist to the zombie, thing, I have to say that it was kind of heavy-handed. Like, maybe back in 2004, we were both a lot younger back then. Maybe things had to be. It worked better when I saw it in the movie theater, but maybe after all the experiences we've had in our lives, this movie that part seemed a little heavy-handed.
Yeah, and the walking underwater thing. What'd you think?
Well, that was part of that goes back to European zombie.
Yes, that's true. That is true, actually.
Yeah, it's an Italian.
But they're walking under in Zombie, he's actually in the water fighting a shark. But this one, that was kind of a cool scene in this movie, though. I'll say that. Yeah. But I didn't like the way they looked, man.
No, they looked terrible. They looked like there was no budget.
Big Daddy looked terrible. I thought the makeup looked terrible. I don't know.
Everyone looked like they were wearing a mask in this movie.
Yes, totally. And this was like the litmus almost. Like, Nicotero obviously got his shit together, and obviously zombies, even aside from The Walking Dead, other zombie movies in general, I feel like, visually kind of got their shit together after these movies.
Really, the year before, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, zombies look great in that movie.
Yeah.
It's perplexing why this looks so bad. And they had the budget. That's the thing. Yes, they did have It's not like this is done on a shoestring.
Yeah, it's very
And
odd.
the other hole to this concept of the intelligent zombie, because you and I are both familiar with the comic book Dead World.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where the zombies actually are, or one zombie is actually intelligent.
Yeah.
That concept was never carried forth into any of the subsequent movies after Land of the Dead. It's like we had Land of the Dead. There's like this group of zombies who, led by this African-American guy with a mechanic's outfit on. And then that's it. There's no, any of the movies after that, like Diary or
they don't.
Survival.
It's like clean slate.
They're just like, let's just forget about what happened in that one film. There's no
However, with Night of the Living Dead, Dawn, and Day, it is the same thing. It's that once those movies are over, and there's no character, there's no thread.
Well, I'm cool with the characters not recurring because there's a whole world and there's definitely lapses in time that go on between the films. The sense I got from Land is that between Land and Day, we might have had 15 years pass or something like that. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I never really.
You mean Dawn and Day?
I'm thinking more Land of the Dead and then Day of the Dead.
Oh, you're talking about Diary. Diary.
Yeah.
Diary. Okay, yeah. Oh, there was a horrible movie called Day of the Dead that had nothing to do with George Romero. Somebody took that name, and that's a really bad 2000s horror movie, by the way. Avoid that movie. Yes.
But yeah, that's wait, hold on a second. Day of the Dead. It's the one where they're in the bunker underground.
That's the 85 Day of the Dead.
85 Day of the Dead. No, that's what I'm talking.
You were connecting Land?
No. I was saying all right, we had the original films, Night of the Living Dead. We had Dawn, and then we had
Day.
Right. The 85 Day. Mm-hmm. Okay. Romero didn't do a zombie film again until Land.
Correct.
All right. So now, the Romero Day of the Dead, okay, and then Land of the Dead, I had the sense that there was a pretty big span of time in that world. That
sure. No, absolutely.
Because in Day of the Dead, there, it's shit still had hit the fan.
Yeah.
People are recovering from this whole thing. But in Land of the Dead,
it's like it seems like it happened a while ago.
Yeah, shit kind of settled out.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So that's why the point. I don't really have a point to make. I'm just saying that it's that's why I'm cool with there not being any continuity with characters.
Gotcha. And I want to rewatch Diary, just because I do remember that it was a much smaller film with a smaller cast, and it had more of a handheld kind of had a totally different vibe than Land. Yeah. And I remember liking it, but then I've read some people that said that they really hated it. But it's funny that the reception of Land back in the day, Roger Ebert gave this movie 3 out of 4 stars.
Really?
And he said considered it skillful and creative, and he said that this installment's distinction between the rich and the poor, and those that live in Fiddler's Green and those that live in the slums, he took it as Romero's take on the rising gap between the rich and the poor in the United States in 2005. Like kind of talking about what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it did well, and it made some money, and it came a year and 3 months after the Dawn remake.
Dawn remake, yeah.
Yes. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like so much has happened since '05 in horror and in zombie horror, right? So it's like I'm looking at it with different eyes, and I just came away with, I don't know, like I didn't love it. And I think back then, I think I really liked it. I don't know. That happens. Like it's not often that happens with me with films, honestly, but it does happen from time to time.
It definitely happened with me in this time around. But,
Yeah.
you know, when it comes to giving it like a rating, I had to. This is how I sort of. My rating for this film was 3 out of 5.
I'm gonna say the same. It is 3 out of 5.
And the reason why I came up with that, even though it came out years ago, and I think when I saw it, I liked it. If I go back and watch Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and Romero's Day of the Dead, those films stand up.
Yes, they do.
Even though they came out like 20 years
Long
prior
time
to this
ago,
one,
yes.
you know? And this movie does not stand up in the same way.
12 years, yeah.
So I give it like a lower mark.
Totally.
Like those 3 original films are classics. And
Yeah.
I can watch them all day long.
Yeah.
You know, so this one, you know,
Because they
unfortunately-
do a better job of capturing the urgency and the bleakness and the darkness of what would happen if this really happened. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think those original movies do a great job of that. But not so much his revisit, which I don't know if that was, again, that might not have been what he even wanted to convey. Maybe it was really more about this whole political class struggle thing, which is very possible.
Sure.
Where the horror and the vibe and mood take a backseat. But I don't know. Didn't work for me.
Yeah, and that's kind of like why we come up with like a relatively low rating on this too. It's like, you know, okay, at the end of the day, you're making a horror film. You want to scare people a little bit. You want to have fun, you know, and even though the political subtext was present in all of his films, there still were like a lot of tension, and like, even though I've seen some of these movies so many times, when I rewatch them, I'm like, don't go down in the pit. You know, there's always like.
Or when you're rewatching them, you're finding new stuff to like, or you're finding, you know what I'm saying, just different things. I rewatched this and didn't really find anything to
No, there was nothing new.
I found the opposite.
And the first thing that hit me was how bad the zombies looked.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this looks like terrible.
And my movie wife, Asia, I mean, she looked great, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough.
She did look great.
Yeah, she looked great.
And even a cameo by Tom Savini couldn't save it.
Yeah. No, and there's a Simon Pegg cameo in there too. He's one of the zombies. Yeah. I mean, you know what? I kind of want to go back and watch that movie too. The what's that zombie comedy called?
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I want to see. I have not watched that in ages. I want to see what I think of that now.
I loved it when it came out, but yeah, I've seen it a few times, and I think I'd like to come back and watch that too.
So yeah, we're both giving this one 3 out of 5. Same score. For those of you who haven't seen this movie, and like I said, it might be some, it's worth seeing, but I think you may come away with what Mike and I are saying, whereas so much your eyes have seen a lot in zombie world in the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And to go back to this is kind of a vibe.
But that's the thing though, even though the older films came out so much, longer ago, and the special effects weren't. I mean, special effects in Dawn of the Dead weren't that great.
No, but it's
you
the
still engage.
vibe and the app. It's just you're caught up in what's happening. And let's be honest, the 4 actors are giving a great performance, and they're acting like, oh my God, we're in a goddamn mall in a fucking zombie apocalypse.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like I did recently, the night George died, I rewatched Dawn. That's what I did. And that was the night of all the premieres of all shows. I watched Dawn of the Dead that night, just because. And yes, I'm like, these people are giving great performances in this movie.
Actually, in honor of George Romero, I'm wearing the slip.
Yes, and Mike today is wearing his Night of the Living Dead shirt, and I'm wearing a Bride of Frankenstein shirt, as luck would have it. We didn't pre-plan this, by the way, guys. We did not.
Yeah, we just.
These are, we're t-shirt wearing men. These things happen. But yes, that's the book on Land of the Dead. So
if someone was to ask you, what are your favorite Romero films? What would you come up with? Say, give me like the top 5. I feel like 5. Dawn is always just kind of like my number one. It's just, and I would probably put,
night under that, and then day. And then I really like Season of the Witch, even though some people think it's kind of a boring movie. I think it's a really cool 70s movie. Like it's just kind of like a dark, weird movie that has a lot to do with like feminine, like female, like kind of like empowerment and like what women were going through in the 70s is kind of projected into what Season of the Witch is about. I also love, what do you call it? Two Evil Eyes.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
His portion of that. I don't know. I feel like I'm like Martin is up there. Martin's up there.
That's one of mine.
But I definitely am drawn to the original 3 zombie movies. Yeah. And even like The Crazies is cool. Like all of his offbeat movies are also really cool movies too. But Martin is definitely up there. That's another one. It's like he did some real interesting original shit after the zombie movies and during the zombie movies.
Absolutely.
This guy didn't really repeat himself much if you really think about it. Not through the bulk of his career.
You know, and for better or worse, even in the zombie stuff, every movie really was different.
Yes, oh totally.
Different vibe, like different, and even though Land, out of all the zombie films, Land probably was the one that was least effective.
And although Pittsburgh claims him, the man lived in New York the first 20 years of his life. He lived in, he was a New Yorker. He's born in New York, New York City. So he's a New Yorker as much as he is a Pittsburgh man. Yes, Pennsylvanian, correct. And he died in Canada. So he was quite a well-traveled man, I believe. Yes.
He got around.
He lived his last decade or so in Canada, or more than a decade, possibly. But, he was a New York boy. Rest in peace, George.
Get Out.
Now we are going to discuss one of the straight up biggest movies of the year, if you want to be really technical. Jordan Peele's Get Out. This one came out in the winter. I saw it in the theater around February at Nighthawk. Say hello to the Nighthawk guys. Side note: the Park Slope Nighthawk will be open by the fall.
Yes,
before the end of this year.
That's fucking outstanding.
That should be cool. Can't wait for that. And it's funny. It was like every showing was sold out for like a very long time. This movie did really well, not just in the mainstream theaters, but it even did well in the smaller theaters. It had a budget of $4.5 million, which is a very small 2017 budget for any movie. But the kicker is that it made $252 million.
That's great. Yeah.
So you do that math on just how well this movie did, and you can see why it is one of the biggest movies of the year.
Great cast, too.
Yes. It stars Daniel Kaluuya as Chris Washington, Allison Williams as Rose Armitage, Bradley Whitford from one of my favorite comedies ever, Billy Madison, as Dean Armitage, Catherine Keener in a million movies herself as Missy Armitage, and Caleb Landry Jones as Jeremy Armitage, the crazy brother.
From Antiviral.
Yes. And we have Lil Ray Howery as Rod Williams, Betty Gabriel as Georgina, and Marcus Henderson as Walter. Now, you recently saw this film.
I just saw it last week, actually.
What are your initial thoughts on it?
Well, I thought it was a really great film, actually. And as I was watching it, I was just thinking about tons of white people writing on their blogs about this film.
Yes, and it was the biggest thing for white people to talk about this movie. Well, and black people too, to a degree, because Jordan Peele himself is a black man.
Yeah,
he's actually mixed race guy. and he comes, from the comedy world.
One of the things, real quick about that, at the end of the film, I was like, man, I hope I hope Jordan Peele is black. Right, because I didn't know who he was.
You're so out of the wheelhouse of this movie that you didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah, I like.
You didn't know there was a tremendous hoopla about this movie.
You know what, dude? Honestly, I did, but I was so disgusted by like people that would care about that kind of thing. Right. I was like, fuck it. I got more important things to deal with. But like, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait. I want to watch this movie when it comes on to one of the streaming services, and I'll get into it then. And I had no idea Jordan Peele. I don't know who he is. He's a comedian guy.
Him and Key and Peele was this big Comedy Central sketch comedy show.
Okay.
That was kind of like, it was on for I think 2 or 3 seasons only. I actually never watched it. I think I saw pieces of it.
Is it because you're racist? Is that
no, it's not because I'm a racist. Because the last thing I watched on Comedy Central was probably, I do watch South Park.
Yeah. Of course.
And I watched the Chappelle Show. Okay. But there were so many of these sketch comedy shows that I just punched out of it. I didn't care. Yeah. I'm weird with comedy. I'm not a big watch every comedy, see every stand-up. I'm not that dude anymore. I'm selective. But I always heard that their show was funny and cool. I did always hear that Chappelle hated their show and thought that they ripped him off, which made me kind of chuckle because I'm a big Chappelle guy.
I love Chappelle.
But having never actually sat down to watch it, I can't even say if it was a ripoff of Chappelle's show. But anyway, yes,
right.
They come from the comedy scene, but apparently Jordan Peele, one half of the duo,
loves horror.
Was a big horror guy, loved horror movies, and wanted to make a horror movie. Because of the success of the first film these two guys made together, a comedy called Keanu.
Okay.
It made money.
Is that about a cat?
It's weird. It has something to do with a cat. Again, a movie I have not seen because I don't see a lot of new comedies. I want to see this Keanu now just because I've seen Get Out. Put it that way. I don't even know why it's called Keanu. Is Keanu Reeves in the movie? Who the fuck knows? Okay. Apparently, Jordan Peele loves horror, makes this horror movie.
So I'm watching this movie. It's like, in the later part of the evening, and the movie wraps up. And I'm like, excellent movie. I really hope, the ironic thing would be if this Jordan guy was a white dude.
You didn't even know.
I had no idea. So I got on IMDb and I looked him up, and I'm like, thank you. I'm happy that this is a black man who made this movie.
Yeah, well, honestly, like, the thing is, the controversy about it for some people was that it was like, it makes white people as evil people and that it's anti-white. Man, I watch movies. I've been watching movies for a very long time. I've seen all sorts of horror movies. I've seen all sorts of movies. When I watched this movie, I just saw it as they just so happened to be, like, the bad people in this movie just so happened to be white. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see it as, oh my God, they're trying to say white people are bad. I saw it as, no, these people are bad because I'm a rational fucking person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Well, if you're a rational person, that should be the conclusion you came to. No?
I partially agree with you. This movie is definitely a satire on a very specific type of white person.
Yes.
Okay.
We can get to that too.
Yeah. Now, historically, whenever you're going to cast white people in like a negative manner, right, in a horror film, they're always like some toothless hillbilly.
Yes,
like living out in the woods,
that's
true. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre
taking
style.
the riff on white trash or
white
poor
trash.
people, or exactly.
This time around, they're these like educated, well-to-do people.
They're liberals, actually.
They're liberals.
Yes,
right.
They're ultra liberals.
They're super ultra liberals, and we can get into a little bit of the plot after this too. But like, so enamored with black culture that they want to take their consciousness and put it into black people.
Yes, like that's how fucked up they are. They want to, like, soul, like, rip their souls out, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, totally. And, like, now, if you ask me, this is a great plot. I mean,
I think it's brilliant.
It's great plot, great script, great idea.
It's brilliant. And it also, it's like, not, I believe that is some of the problem with like these ultra liberals, like social justice types, these SJWs.
They take it so yeah. I mean, look, but ultimately, like, I just saw it's a damn movie. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, is it too much to just be like, take it as an entertaining, like interesting horror movie?
Well,
Is
that's
it too
the
much?
brilliance of this film is that it's an excellent film. It's entertaining. There's like a really cool storyline, and it has all this stuff in there too. You know what I mean? How it's like, I mean, the sort of fetishization of the black culture by white people. That's
Right.
That's a definite subtext in here, and it's like, and not all white people. Like I'm saying, not every single black guy is the same. Not every single white guy is the same.
Exactly.
And there's definitely a strata of white society who are like, there's certain things that happen in this movie that really typify that. We're going to get into that in a minute, but like. I'm like, I love the film.
Yeah.
I think it was like, and it was like a very Stepford Wives. Like,
yes, very
uncomfortable.
Rosemary's Baby, Stepford. It actually had a lot of 70s sensibility to it.
Yeah.
Even though it's a modern horror movie taking place in the modern day, I think it was made by a guy who really likes some cool horror movies and put some of those cool horror movie elements into his movie. So you know what? That's fucking great. I think that's great. And that, I don't know. It's great also that it upset some people on the far right and it upset some people on the far left.
Some far right types got upset.
Yeah,
by it.
because they just were like, "What is this garbage? Oh, it's showing that all white people are bad." I'm like, "Well, no. Why would you think that it's showing that all white? Like, I don't know. Like,
if anything, I think someone who's like a really far right leaning guy would applaud this film because of Dean saying, "I voted for Obama." Twice,
right, exactly. Like, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just, to me, as a film lover, as a horror film lover, I put all that crap to the side because I read tons of stuff about this movie before I saw it and after I saw it, and I appreciate it for what it was. That's what I'm saying, and that's what I think you're supposed to do. And I think maybe that's what the filmmaker ultimately look. He didn't want to make a movie to alienate anybody.
I agree. I believe.
I don't think he did. I think he maybe wanted you to think. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and he wanted to do something different, but I don't think he wanted to divide and get people all angry.
But being that he's from the comedy world, and I'm not a. I mean, I like comedy. I'm not like a huge fan. I'm not going to consider myself to be like an aficionado in comedy. But a lot of what comedy is about is like observational stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So that skill set that he has as a comedian, he applied to this horror film, and he observed that there's a definite embarrassing strata of white liberal society that makes me and you cringe probably because of the way they pander to certain political things.
Exactly.
And that's how I see this film is like, these like super liberal, very like unnaturally liberal people who are being satirized in this film. And I think, it wasn't meant to divide anybody, but there's definitely a stereotype.
Yeah, like I said, there you could read things that on either side of the spectrum where some people were like, well, blah, blah, blah.
But it's a good thing, though, that this movie happened, I think.
Yes. I mean, I actually saw something from a conservative who was like, why are some conservatives upset about this movie? It's a good movie. Shut up. Like, really, like, honestly, it was like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, just, be entertained. You know what I'm saying?
And it's a horror film.
Right. It's a horror movie.
At the end
Exactly.
of the day, it's a horror film, and it's great.
So, to the plot itself.
Yeah.
Black man Andre Hayworth is dating white woman Rose Armitage, right?
Actually, it's Chris Washington.
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry about that. Chris Washington. Yes. It is time for him to meet her parents, and they go on the road trip, right, to meet her parents.
Yeah. Now, quick note about what's the actress Allison Williams.
Allison Williams is the actress.
She had a scene in Girls where she was getting her ass eaten.
Yes, she did. I've never really watched Girls. Not a big fan of it, but she has a very sexy scene, and I don't know how they filmed that scene. I don't know how it got on the air, but yes, it's out there. Side note. Anyway, the crux of the movie, like, is he's not really anxious about it. You know what I'm saying? He's never met her parents before, and they live together, right? I haven't seen the movie since February.
So.
Wait, they have their own places, or
that's a good question because I just saw it, but it's not clear whether or not they live together.
Yeah, I think it opens. They're in her apartment earlier on, and that's when they're having that conversation and getting ready to go, whatever. They might have separate. No, they do have separate apartments. They do.
It opens when she's getting like some pastries or something.
Yes. They do have separate.
It's like a
they
very
don't live
white
together,
girl thing.
But they've been together a while, and it's time to meet the family. She decides, but on the way there, they hit what is it
a deer.
A deer.
Yeah.
I almost feel like hasn't that been used in a movie?
Yeah, of course.
It's been used in
a lot of
the invitation.
Films.
Don't they hit an animal in the invitation?
Actually,
the beginning of the invitation.
It's been so used.
Yes, it has.
That I was actually remembering when I was putting my notes together. I was remembering the scene in the invitation.
Yeah, yes.
And I got them confused.
Pretty funny. Which is a bit of a, I guess, a foreshadow.
Yeah. Well, it's like an introduction into the world. It's like this part I feel like is the obviousness of like, okay, we're outside the city, we're like upstate somewhere in the woods. The cop shows up, and he's like, you can feel like the racist kind of vibe where he's like, well, let me see.
Yeah. As they're driving, they get pulled over by a cop. And
the cop comes. When they hit the deer.
That's right. I'm sorry.
She calls a cop because me having grown up in the woods, I understand you don't call the police actually.
Yeah.
But if you're a city slicker or whatever,
girl, right.
Actually she's not. She's from up there, but
lives in the city.
One would think that you would call the cops in a situation like this, but me being a hick from like the woods, upstate, I know not to do that. But anyway, she calls a cop. Dude shows up, and automatically he's like, "Well, let me see your identification to the black guy." Right?
Even though he's not the driver.
Yeah. So then, like, she steps in and she's like, "Oh, you're being racist, blah blah blah."
I'm watching that, and I don't drive.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering to myself, how often does that happen? Like,
with what?
Does a cop ask the passenger for
Never.
ID? That's kind of like
I've been pulled over a fair amount of times.
I just that was a weird. I was like, does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, we got pulled in the van. I've been in pulled over vehicles plenty of times. The cop asks the driver, "Show your identification." He doesn't ask every single guy in the van.
No.
To
so it was douchey of the cop.
So it was douchey
to ask for the exactly.
There was there was a vibe, whatever. So that kind of all right. Well, you get the sense that Rose is a forward-thinking, progressive young lady, and sees through the relative ignorance of the people that are living outside of the city.
Because she gets mad at the cop for asking.
Or she gets angry at the cop,
right?
And it's like, oh, I can't believe you're pulling this shit. Whatever.
Yeah. She actually is immediately like upset about.
She's like confrontational with him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, it's kind of turned me on a little bit at how like confrontational you are.
Yeah.
So I mean, Chris in a way is a little bit of a beta male kind of.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of like goes with the flow. He's not
a pushover.
No.
He's not. Like he's anxious to meet the parents, but he's not like out of his mind or anything. I mean, he's I think he's how any boyfriend, black or white, any scenario. Sometimes when you're going to meet parents, you're a little boy.
Yeah, you don't want to assert yourself too much. You don't want to like really,
right.
You just kind of want to be generic in a lot of ways.
So they finally get to the house.
Yeah.
And the parents are overly nice.
Yep.
Overly welcoming.
Yep. And the father is the heavy-handed liberal guy.
Yeah.
He talks about this thing where there's like, how he voted for Obama
twice.
He would have voted for him a third time if he could.
Time. Yeah, it's like, come on, dude.
And his dad's a neurosurgeon.
Chill out.
Then there's also this one really fucking turned my stomach, man. Where he gives Chris a tour of the house, and then there's like a picture. His father's a track runner who was beat by Jesse Owens.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So Jesse Owens could be in the 1936 Olympics, which for everyone who doesn't know their history is the year that it was in Nazi Germany, the Olympics. And I mean, that was a great moment,
right.
in history. To have Jesse Owens win, someone who would be considered an underman by Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And which and the guy's like, "Oh, that was too bad for your grandfather."
Yeah, the grandfather.
It's like, yes, but that was a great moment for Jesse Owens.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know what, dude? Me being a very competitive person, I want to win, man. Fuck that. I'm like, hey, good for Jesse Owens. I would rather one. I would rather one.
But it's kind of as they're going through the house and they're talking to the parents, and the weird vibe is already begun, right? The parents being a bit off has already begun, which I thought was cool. The mom is like a hypnotist and blah blah blah, and
she's also kind of a little distant too.
Yeah. And we find out that they have a black housekeeper, female, and a black male groundskeeper, and there is something way off with them.
Yeah, they seem like sedated or something.
Yes, I mean, anyone can see that. But of course, the girlfriend and the parents, everything,
they're like, oh, you might find it odd that we have black servants in our house and we're rich as fuck. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And they I forgot the reason, but there was like some reason where they, basically it was like saying that they came with the estate or some bullshit like that.
Again, I only saw it back in February, and I'm just going like by my notes and stuff. But the thing is, there's the party is what happens next, right?
Yeah.
And the weird occurrence that happens there is that there's another black man with an elderly middle-aged, middle-aged white woman there, and Chris is like, "What is going on there?"
Yeah, it's like some young black dude rolls up. And he's excited because there's another black guy.
Yeah, he goes
there.
to say hello, right?
And, he goes to say hello to him, and the guy's like,
and the guy's another like near zombie.
Yeah, and this is where I was thinking like Stepford Wives.
Yeah, totally.
It had that vibe of like there's just something you can't put your finger on, But also, Chris realizes this dude looks familiar.
That's the other thing.
He recognizes him
because at the very beginning of the movie, which we didn't say, this is the man who gets kind of kidnapped.
Oh yeah, back in the beginning of the film, there's a black guy.
Although I didn't initially put that together when I saw it in the theater.
I thought that was a little.
You recognized him as the guy in the beginning?
I didn't because it was so dark.
Right. I didn't recognize it. Right.
Yeah. So, in the beginning of the film, there's a guy, black dude, walking through a neighborhood.
Nice neighborhood, yeah.
Very nice neighborhood. He's on his phone, and he's like, he notices a car rolls up next to him.
Found him.
And he's like, all right, changes direction. Mm-hmm. He's on the phone with, I think, was it Rodney that he was on the phone with or someone? He was on the phone with somebody.
He's on the phone with a friend, yeah. Can't remember.
And then some dude jumps him, knocks him out, and kidnaps him. So it's like, okay, this is where we're the kind of place we're in. So it turns out that Chris recognizes this guy from back home, okay? And he goes to take a picture of him, and so he can send it to his buddy. Uh-huh. And the flash sets this guy off into some weird seizure. And he rolls up to Chris, and he grips up Chris, and he's like, "Get out!"
Yes, get out.
That's the name of the film.
That's the exact. Okay. See, I'm like at this point in the film, I'm like loving the hell out of the movie already because to me it just really is like drawing you in. There's no like wasted moments in this movie.
No, it really
there's no wasted moments.
There's an economical vibe to this film where everything is like significant.
It's tight. This movie is a tight film.
Yes,
there's tension. And again, we're not going over the entire movie. That's really boring and silly to do. But basically, we learn, of course, that the parents and pretty much the town are up to shenanigans.
Yeah.
And they're up to mind control and doing experimentations and surgeries on the black people that come into the neighborhood and come into their lives.
Well, people they actively go out and get.
Yes.
All right. So the one other guy that we meet is the guy that we meet one other key member of this situation.
We could talk for a moment about the friend, Rodney, who's the TSA agent, the friend of Chris, who kind of tells him that people go, brothers go missing up there, right? Isn't that the one who tells him that?
Like super, which is also kind of like another black stereotype against white people, or it's like white people are kidnapping black people for sex.
I gotta say, I've never heard about that. See, that's kind of like that whole thing to me. I was like, really? Like, that's like people say that? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm out of it, but again, I'm just taking the movie in and enjoying the movie as a cool, tense, horror movie, thriller. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But the guy we meet though is Stephen Root, who plays Jimmy James from
Good character
News Radio,
actor. Yes, great character
and Milton from The Office Space.
Yes,
an excellent character actor. Mm-hmm. He plays a guy named Jim Hudson, who's believe it or not, a blind art dealer.
He's blind. Yep.
All right. So we meet him, and so he plays an important part of this film too, because it turns out that this is the guy that like the whole plot here is there's some procedure that their family has developed.
Yeah.
You know, remember, Dean is a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
Okay.
The father.
Where they take the consciousness of some feeble white guy, right? They inject it into a young, virile black man, and they banish his consciousness to some void.
Yeah.
Some fucking nether region.
Yeah. So there's some fantastical shit going on.
This is why it's a horror movie.
Right, exactly.
This element.
Yeah.
Right. So now this character, Hudson, is blind. So, of course, you know.
He actually, you think he's kind of a nice guy at one point.
Yeah, you think he's a good dude.
You think he's a good dude. He's really not that good of a dude.
No, he's not a good guy.
And then there's the crazy brother.
Yeah, the crazy brother who tries to like get in some MMA sparring with him over dinner.
Yes, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this movie, and there's great performances by pretty much everybody. And the mom hypnotizes Chris. What do you call it? Catherine Keener.
Yeah,
she does a great job in this movie. I mean, all these things happen that build up to, you know, the final kind of confrontation when the shit really hits the fan and Chris knows exactly what's going on and he has to get out of there. And then, like, it turns out you don't really... Now, throughout most of the movie, you don't think the girlfriend is in on it. And they do a good job of that, actually, of thinking that the girlfriend is not in on it. Until you realize that, oh, yes, she is in on the movie.
And you know what? She lied to him.
Yeah.
Because she says that he was the only black guy she's ever dated.
Oh, yeah. He finds, like, the pictures of tons of black dudes that she dated. Like, it's great kind of reveal. There's a great reveal in the movie. Yes.
Now, you think... Now, there was, like, about... I don't know, 20 pictures of dudes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You think she banged all those guys?
She's banged all those dudes, and she brought all of them up there. Like, this has been going on for a while, man. It's pretty evil. Yeah.
So... This movie's still relatively new, and there might be some people out there. I mean, you know, that it's maybe. Like I said, I just saw this movie last week, so you know, we'll let you guys watch the rest of the film. We're not going to reveal do a total reveal, spoiler
about
of
the very end, because there's a second ending on the Blu-ray and DVD that he ultimately did not want to go for.
Oh, okay.
Which is a bit of a different outcome, actually. The theatrical ending and the ending that they did go with is a happier ending than the one that they did not choose.
So I probably would have liked the other ending myself.
Yeah.
But I always like those downer endings.
So if we're gonna leave this unspoiled.
Yeah.
Okay. We normally don't do that, but we're gonna do that this time. Even though I do think a lot of our audience has seen it, but for those who are on the fence, I think you should see it. Just forget any of the press or whatever, or any of the political left or right sides or any of that crap. See the movie, because it is a really good movie.
And, likely, I mean, I'm one of the hosts of this show, and I didn't see it until last week. So, hey, maybe somebody out there haven't seen it.
I know. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes, the noise can block your long view. But don't let it do that. Just see this movie, decide for yourself. Don't go by any left or right agenda. It's a great horror movie from a first horror movie from a director who's only made one other movie. So I think he's off to a good start. I'm going to give this 4.5 out of 5.
You and I are both on the same page so far.
Oh, look at that.
I also gave this a 4.5. I think it's an
Yes.
excellent film.
Yeah.
It works on every level. There's like some unique like stuff in this film.
Totally.
Even though you can see the connections between older movies, they do it in a very unique way, and the acting was great. It was a well-written, and it was also, like we mentioned earlier, a tightly edited film.
Yeah.
There's an economy in this film.
There's no boring scenes.
Yeah.
It's you're locked in, and you're like, you're uneasy throughout the whole thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, speaking of uneasy.
Oh, yes. We're on to our third and final film of the podcast. A definitely uneasy film from 2017 by the name of The Evil Within. Now, this movie piqued our interest because it was the cover story of the current issue of Rue Morgue. And it's an odd cover story because it's a movie that actually came out on DVD and Blu-ray back in February, which they chose it for the cover story for now, because I think, if you read the articles and after you hear the podcast, you might see why this is a very kind of interesting movie that shouldn't just fall through the cracks of the 8 billion super indie horror movies that come out every year. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. I mean, yeah, you know, to me and you, Mike, Rue Morgue is kind of like the style maker of horror.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
really is. And look, sometimes I don't agree with their reviews, and sometimes I question the covers they do.
Yeah.
And I have to say, before I saw this movie and did my research, I was like, "What is this? Is weird. This is an odd cover they have for the, Michael Berryman, cover like for a movie that I've never heard of. Interesting. Usually they would go with something, a bit more known. But in the past, they have done, taken risks with their covers, which is great. Which is part of the reason, A, they're still standing.
Yeah.
And B, they have the respect of and love of fans all over the place. So, and they picked the winner.
Yeah, this is great. What's interesting about this is it was written and directed by Andrew Getty of the Getty oil family.
The Getty Fortune family.
Fortune, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're like, he's like an independently wealthy guy, rich, moneyed, upper class sort of dude. Okay. Also a very troubled person, from my understanding.
And much like the Manson family, this movie took 15 years to make. It started shooting around 2002, and it came out in February of this year. So that in itself is very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was completely self-financed.
Yeah.
It was like an art project by this guy who really wasn't really a filmmaker per se.
No, he was a film fan.
A
rich guy who wanted to make a horror movie, and he made a horror movie.
Of course, he had professionals.
Oh no, that's the thing.
Acting and editing it.
It looks great. It's the budget's somewhere between $4 and $6 million, and it looks really good.
But the vision and the story and all that sort of stuff is straight out of Andrew Getty's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty impressive because this is a film like it sits in its own class. Really.
Yeah, he directed and wrote the film. The initial title was The Storyteller, by the way. I believe the brunt of it was shot, with that title. And a brief summary, it tells the story of a special needs boy who talks to his own reflection in a mirror, which becomes a demon of his dreams and tells him to commit murders. It was a personal project of Getty, self-financed the film, and took 15 years to complete, finally released in 2017, 2 years after the man's death. The director died in 2015 of
drug-related issues.
Drug-related illness. He was a meth addict.
Yeah.
He was a rich meth addict. Yeah. You don't hear too much about that.
No. Go
figure. A filthy rich meth addict. Sometimes the filthy rich are addicted to other drugs, usually.
Yeah. It's he's just a troubled guy, And it actually, this film actually is kind of a testament to maybe some of the troubled, issues this guy might have.
It was also filmed in his mansion. It was filmed in his property, which is unbelievable. The guy's own home. Converted one of the rooms in the mansion to the post-production suite. He made his own unique camera rigs, built the expensive sets, created with his effects team the animatronic robots, including an octopus that could play drums. I mean, that's kind of a little more animated scene in the movie, actually. The thing is, throughout the 15 years, the production would stop and start and stop
Similar
and start.
Similar to the Van Bever's Manson family.
Exactly. But throughout the time, I mean, they would save the film, and the actors would come in when they could. The cast and crew would come in when they could. Went through a number of changes. Michael Berryman was there throughout the entire thing. Michael Berryman, of course, from The Hills Have Eyes and Weird Science, infamous looking character actor who does a great job in this movie as the storyteller. Very scary, creeped out character. But this guy, was a perfectionist, Getty. And another part of the reason why it took him so long to make the movie, he was at his own pace, and he wanted things just his way. But he died in 2015, before the film was completely finished. The coloring and editing had not been completed. That got done by Michael Luceri, who was one of the producers, who had to finally fully edit the film and finish it. And it came out in February on demand and on Blu-ray and DVD with this Evil Within title. So apparently throughout most of it, it was called The Storyteller. And yeah.
I think The Evil Within is probably more of an apt title.
Yeah, when you see the movie, definitely, right?
Yeah. And then the actors, we got Frederick Kohler, who plays Dennis, who's pretty much the main character in the film.
Unbelievable performance by this guy, playing a mentally handicapped young man. I mean, wow!
You thought he was actually mentally handicapped.
Yeah, I just the way you see it yourself, and you'll think the same thing. Trust me.
Sean Patrick Flannery as John, his brother, who was in Boondock Saints.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Now, Frederick Kohler. He's been in a couple things. He was in American Horror Story. I saw him in that. He was in an episode of Random, but this a very, very small part as a bouncer in one of the episodes of this TV show called Kingdom that I watch.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and probably some other stuff. And then Brianna Brown as Lydia, which is John's girlfriend. She was in 40.
Dina Meyer is the girlfriend. Dina Meyer.
Dina
Meyer. Yeah, Dina Meyer. She's in some of the Saw movies. You also recognize her in what's that 90s movie, that alien movie that was like the big hit? Starship Troopers.
Oh, Starship Troopers.
She's in Starship Troopers. Yeah, she's gorgeous. Beautiful woman.
Nice looking lady.
Yes. I need to see that movie again. I haven't seen that movie in ages.
You know what? One of my high school chums, Randy Link, he worked on that film.
Oh, that's cool.
In the design of the monsters.
That movie's effects are awesome.
Yeah, Randy's worked on King Kong and like a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
He's like an art director. Like, he was a kid when I was in high school. I knew he was going to end up doing shit like that. Like, he was building shit when we were like 15 years old.
Wow.
Like monsters and masks and shit like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie was inspired by the director's actual nightmares growing up. Wow. When he was young, he would have these, horrible dreams, and he kind of, put them all to paper and put them in this movie.
Wow.
Wild. Now, there's even like a Jodorowsky-esque kind of moments in this movie. It's not your typical horror movie.
No, definitely not. And because well, in a couple of different ways, I walked away from this film thinking that like none of the horrific elements actually happened.
Yes, there's a very good chance in the mind of
Dennis, and then he ended up just going off the deep end.
And like the only real thing is possibly just the murders themselves.
Just the murders themselves,
because he is taken away by police and he is committed.
Yeah.
And the brother is dead.
Yep.
And there's, but yeah, like you feel really bad for this character.
It was a very uncomfortable movie because like animals get killed, children get killed.
Yeah.
There's like this mentally handicapped guy that's like, you want things to be okay
like
for
the
him.
mirror and the storyteller, they're telling him to do these terrible things, and the storyteller at one point it looks like sexually molests him at one point in the film. It definitely, it's very uncomfortable and unique. It is not a perfect movie.
No.
It has, I mean, there are times in the movie where it is a bit disjointed, but I was glued to the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, as uncomfortable as I was definitely glued to the movie, and I wanted to see where it was going to go. I just thought his performance was just so good, Frederick Kohler, and I cared about this character whose life was just going to fucking hell. I mean, he had a decent life in the beginning of the movie, and and he had some happiness with his brother and the brother's girlfriend, and they were taking places and blah blah blah. They lived in a nice house.
Yeah.
But man,
well, the interesting thing about that is like it starts out. It starts out in a dream.
Yeah.
And he's actually speaking like very, fluently.
Yes.
He has speak normal.
Yes,
sort of.
normally, right.
And he has this dream where he's with his mother, and they're going down in this
a fun house,
a fun house thing, and then he reveals that this is a dream, and this isn't how he speaks in his waking life.
Yeah.
It turns out that the reason why his brother has been taking care of him, and he's an adult in the film. He's not a kid.
No. He's younger than his brother, but
he's younger than his brother, but his brother has been taking care of him because it was actually through his negligence that he hit his head, and he ended up going into this, having psychological, functional issues like that. And that prior to that, he was actually this really intelligent kid. So, there's a tragic element there. You have this sympathetic vibe towards Dennis, and a sympathetic vibe towards his brother because he feels responsible for it.
Yeah, the brother's a good guy. He's not like a scumbag.
And the girlfriend's a good person, too.
Yeah. I mean, the only flaw with the brother is that he's kind of been with the girl for a long time, and he's kind of not proposing to her, and she's getting really upset about that.
That's something you and I both probably.
Yes, he's kind of you're stringing me along and blah blah blah, and yeah, he's like the perennial single guy, but he's not a bad guy. When you see the movie, he's not a bad guy. He just hasn't committed to marrying this girl yet for whatever reason.
Well, you and I are both guilty of these things.
Exactly, I've been there before.
How bad could that be?
Exactly, not bad enough to be brutally murdered, but anyway, that ice cream parlor girl scene, that was weird. He's like, who works in an ice cream parlor in a bikini? Who does that? I've just never seen that before. Damn it.
No.
Although I didn't mind it. I got to be honest. It was nice to look at, but it was an odd moment in the movie.
There was there was a lot of nightmarish stuff that happened in this film, man. And that's the thing. So, Dennis is going through his life. He's relatively happy, and suddenly they bring out this mirror, which is like a family heirloom, and his reflection starts communicating with him.
Yeah, and speaking to him without like the impediments that he has.
How like if you do what I tell you, you're gonna we'll make you better basically. And then it starts with small things, and then it escalates, and it's all murder,
kill an animal,
killing animals,
kill a child, kill a person, kill your brother, and it's got, like it just gets worse and worse. But throughout all this, the storyteller just torments the guy, and it's just really messed up.
Brooding, gray, like evil nightmare thing from your nightmares, man. This
totally.
like dark, phantasm, that is just appears to him, and in one it looks like he's raping him.
Yeah, there's a scene in the movie. Absolutely, you won't forget it. But I can see why this movie stood out and why the editors at Rue Morgue decided to put it on the cover. And hey, man, as a result of that, it's on our fucking podcast, and we're covering it, and we're telling you guys to see this movie, which is it's definitely one of the better indie horror movies I think you'll see this year.
And the storyline behind it's interesting too. Just with this guy Getty, this non-industry guy just putting this whole thing together.
And his family's story is bizarre. There was I don't know if it was his uncle or his own, not his own father, but his uncle was abducted, and there was like a ransom thing. And it turns out this was actually actor Balthazar Getty's dad, who was abducted and had his ear cut.
Yep.
And it's just all this crazy thing about the Getty family. And I mean, I imagine, as rich as people can be, you can still have mental illness, you can still have problems and be very rich, and still have chaos in your family and horrible things in your family, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's it seems like the Gettys, like a lot of darkness kind of followed them around.
Yes, yeah.
The family, there's a shadow over
and
them
they
somehow.
touch on that in the Rue Morgue article, which I recommend getting this current summer issue of Rue Morgue. Rue Morgue only comes out now 6 times a year, so it's like a double month issue. So yeah, they talk about that, and they talk about the movie. They talk about a little more of the behind the scenes stuff than we're going to talk about. But as a horror movie itself, it works on a lot of levels. It's not very not a lot of it. Kind of the nightmare stuff makes complete sense, because I don't think it's supposed to make complete sense.
No.
It's a lot of like crazy set pieces going on here and there, right? And the ending does kind of leave it a bit open to interpretation as to just how much went down and how much didn't go down. It has a bit of a psycho ending, actually, I think, where he's in an asylum, and he's kind of talking to himself, and you're not sure what went down. Although in Psycho, you do know what went down. In this, you don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, my feeling is that the whole thing was a construct inside of his brain, really.
Yeah.
It's just these things he saw.
The supernatural stuff.
Yeah, all the supernatural stuff was like, he definitely murdered everyone, but like the supernatural elements, I think, were just his own brain deteriorating, which is like even scarier, really, in some ways.
Or I mean, there was something in the like there was really something in that mirror that fucked him up even further, or not, or maybe it was just because of the whole thing with his family's trauma and being raised by his brother. Like it could be one or the other. Like it could be a complete fantastical element in his mind, or it could be like the reality of his situation that caused him to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's even darker because knowing about the story of Getty's family, and the guy killed himself. So yeah, it just has this real dark, unpleasant, sort of uncomfortable vibe to it the whole time, and it's I saw it on Shudder.
Oh, I saw it on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah. So
it's on Amazon. I believe it's also on iTunes. I think so.
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. But and you can buy your physical copy as well if you like. But yeah, I kind of like to see if there's any interesting extras on it. If there's any, I mean, there might be. Who knows? I almost feel like there's a documentary that could happen about the making of this movie or about the guys.
Yeah, totally.
There's got to be in that somewhere in there, right?
I agree. I
mean, so many great backstories. I feel like there could be movies made out of, and there haven't been. But But I mean, at least Van Bebber got his documentary, and he got his film made, and he got a documentary about himself, and he's got a few interesting documentations going on about his life at the very least.
No, totally.
His story is being told, But what do you give this movie?
I give it a 4 out of 5.
You give it a 4. I was going to go. I'm going to go 4.5.
Really?
On this. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm going to go 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was excellent, but there was definitely some like parts of it that just it was great, but I wouldn't go as far as 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of torn. It's not a shut case 4.5. It's like a loose. It's a loose. So
I mean, considering the obstacles that they had to go through,
like
I would give it a 5.5.
I put a lot into my 4.5. Put it that way. A lot of the backstory. But now, last podcast at the end we talked about Twin Peaks. We were enjoying the hell out of it. I'm still enjoying it, but it's a bit frustrating at this point because there's not a lot of episodes left, and there's a lot that needs to happen, and I almost feel like we're going to be left a bit disappointed with a lot of loose ends. What do you think?
I'm still enjoying it, and I'm concerned that we're going to end this thing and be like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, there's a lot of, while he brought over, again, like I said, a lot of the old characters, there's a lot of new elements and new things going on that tie into them, and I almost feel like so much has been brought in that it is taken away from what people kind of want to see. Like, we just finally saw Audrey
Horne.
Finally now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we saw her in a way that was, I don't know, man. It was not the way I kind of wanted to see it.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm cool with that, but I just feel like, I mean, I give so much patience to David Lynch.
Yeah, you have to have patience.
And I want to believe that. I believe that things are going to be resolved okay. Mm. But I'm concerned because I love the characters and the story, and I'm waiting for half of my life for this thing to be resolved. And yeah, man, I'm concerned.
What about the Audrey's son character? Is it Richard?
Excellent.
Oh my God.
He's like a totally David Lynch character.
Shit. I want more of him.
He's a junior Frank Booth.
Yes, I want more of him. And they haven't said yet who his dad is, but his dad is obviously Evil Coop. Obviously, that's his dad. But imagine it isn't his dad. Imagine that. Now that would be interesting. What if his dad is like a normal dude? Like, his dad is not Bobby. We know that.
No.
We did finally figure out that Bobby had a kid played by, what's her name? The beautiful blonde actress. Oh, God, whose name is escaping me. But it's funny how normal Bobby has turned out.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
He was a madman.
Yes. He was
troublemaker.
A drug addict, weirdo, freak. And now he's like a normal cop. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Productive member of
society. But the thing is, man, Richard, I love it, like seeing like that the grandparents are still alive. I love that. I love that Mr. Horn is alive. He's such a great actor, that guy, and the character is so great. But again, the clock is ticking, man, and we need to know
how many episodes
what's going on. I think there's 5 left or 6 left.
We need Coop back.
Yeah, man. I want to see some kind of like maybe, I don't know if showdown is the right word, but Evil Coop has got to be like obliterated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And it has to be this great scene. And in my head, I see something interesting happening that also relates to Lynch's character and like I don't know, like I see something like that happening, but I don't know, man. This could go any way.
The last episode I thought was pretty cool because they actually talked about the Blue Rose.
Yes.
And like what that had to do with aliens and all this crazy shit. Yeah. And like I think it was stated somewhere that Cooper and his doppelganger can't exist in the same time continuum.
What was it that one has to die in order for the other to live? Like,
yeah.
Or that I forget the exact wording.
And we do know for a minute I thought that Dougie lived in another universe
altogether, but now we know that it is not the case.
No,
right?
because you remember the Black Hooker. She took the keys and she mailed it back, and he received it.
Right.
So it's all tied together.
I love that the key finally made it.
Yeah, the key made it. I thought if the key didn't make it, then Coop is off in some other universe somewhere that doesn't tie in with anything. But we need Coop back. I mean, Special Agent Dale Cooper is like one of my favorite characters of all time.
It's so like, and just to see what he would like be like now, like and talk like, I don't know.
You see him in the beginning.
For that not to happen, I would be frustrated.
Yeah, I'd be really frustrated by that.
That would really piss me off.
My favorite female character is the FBI agent, the new FBI agent.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, she's
I can't even look at her.
She can have a spinoff. She needs a spinoff.
Yeah. Were you telling me that people were like belly aching about how they think Lynch is sexist?
Yeah, they think it's a bit too much. And I'm
what?
Like, really?
What's too much?
What's too much? She's fully clothed.
Well, they're talking about specifically about her as being.
Yeah,
too
some
much?
people don't like her. They think she's like horrible. They're critiquing her acting. Number one, of course, and I'm like, I'm sorry, that's her character. Like some of the women on the show act a certain way. Like, you notice that? Like even going back to the
very beginning
seasons and the movie, like they're just some women are just that way. Like the 3 women in the casino, like they're just these weird characters. There are obviously way more kind of normalish women characters in the Lynch world.
Well, there's like a very specific way that Lynch directs people to act in his films.
Yeah.
Okay, and even like a guy like David Mamet. Mm-hmm. If you watch one of his films, that's not the real fucking world.
Yeah, women like Tennessee Williams plays. Women act a certain way. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Now,
like,
I'm not gonna. You know what? This is what it is, dude. It's like you get these fucking guys out there. They're like, maybe they don't have any self-confidence or whatever, and like rather than try to elevate themselves, they know that they can never talk to a girl like that, man.
No.
They're going to try to diminish her.
Right.
So that their insufficiency somehow makes them, they can balance out their insufficiency. And I really hate that. And that's a trend in today's society.
Yeah, and it's like, look, man, again, you obviously haven't been paying attention if you think that this character, she's too much. Really? Have you watched any Twin Peaks before?
I know in my life I would never have a shot with her. And I celebrate her beauty. I know that she's it's awesome.
Her awesomeness.
Her awesomeness, and that's great. So that's my problem, people who like complain about all these things. I'm like, dude,
It's Mike. Here's in simple terms. I think people are upset because she's too hot. That's it.
Maybe that's it.
I just put it in dummy terms.
There you go.
They're upset because she's too hot, which is outlandish. Anyway, but yeah, Twin Peaks, man. I'm there. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, but I'm a little nervous.
I'm a little concerned too. But I'm there. I'm there every week.
Oh, totally. Preacher, you've been out of it
I haven't.
This week.
Yeah, I missed the first. I got to catch up on it. There's a lot of stuff I haven't seen because I've been away.
Mm-hmm.
Preacher. Like I said, I'm just getting back. Catching up on Game of Thrones, and I like Fear the Walking Dead.
I only saw season 1.
And that's happening now, and I need to watch some of that. So, I mean, there's like a bunch of different things I need to catch up on. So
yeah, and I think Walking Dead has to come back, and I think Walking Dead is aware of some people's Walking Dead fatigue, and I think this year is going to be a very interesting year, and I think there's a lot on the line now, and I think, I don't know when it's ending, but I have a feeling we're going to know when it's ending within this year. How do you like
I agree.
that? Within this season.
I see
You know
that.
what I'm saying? In 2018, I think we're going to know when the show's going to end. That's what I think.
And if there's anyone out there interested in buying the later issues of Walking Dead,
Mike is looking to sell. Yeah.
I sold from 1 to 100. I've sold
wow.
all of those, and now I have say 105 to 120 that I still have to get rid of.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So if anyone missed that era, hit me
Yeah.
up. We'll work something out.
Yeah, there are people out there with every single one, man. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I have, as you look over here to your right, I have all the
The
compendiums.
compendiums. Yep.
So I'm still want to enjoy
You have
the
them
story.
at your fingertips.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you to everybody who posts on our Facebook page and sends us messages. I learned something the other day, that a guy checked out Fields of the Nephilim because of us,
Really?
because of this podcast, and now loves them.
That's
He actually, yes.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think that's really cool. Yeah, he learned about it from you and I.
Right on, man.
So
Enjoy. There's a lot of great
Enjoy,
stuff
yes.
there, man.
They're a life-changing band.
Totally.
They are. They're a band that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life.
Oh
So,
yeah, man. They're great. Great band. That's great, man. I enjoy your new find, man. That they're a great band.
And there's new people on Twitter as well, and you can find not Twitter, Instagram. Sorry,
Yep.
I actually don't like Twitter at all, and we don't have a Twitter. I don't
Nope.
think. Instagram. You can find us on there on Necromaniacs, and you can find us on Facebook, Necromaniacs podcast. I put up the Death Wish trailer, and oh boy, damn, has me a little concerned. I mean, when I heard it was set in Chicago, I was like, oh, cool. Well,
Yeah.
Chicago is a crime-ridden city right
Gritty
now. Very
town.
interesting. But once again, the use of the wrong music sinks a trailer. But a while back when they had the Hateful Eight trailers,
Yeah.
I forget they had some rap song, and I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, it made me think it was going to be in the movie, and then of course the soundtrack was really good.
Yeah.
And it had a fantastic score and a fantastic soundtrack. But then I'm like, I guess they're thinking in terms of selling the trailer. They're not thinking in terms of
A
selling
lot of
the
times
movie.
that movie is not.
So the Back in Black, they used that in the AC/DC at some point. It just, when you see it, you'll see what I mean. It doesn't fit. It takes you kind of out of the whole idea of Death Wish. And some of the dialogue was a little silly, and some of it, I'm just like, oh man, I don't want a silly Death Wish. Like, this is Death Wish, you know?
I don't know about Bruce Willis though, my friend.
That's the other thing. Some people think he's the wrong guy. I actually think I don't know. Part of me thinks he is the right guy. Because he's this older Bruce Willis. He's not diehard Bruce Willis. He's an older guy. He's 60, whatever now. You know what I'm saying? Or late 50s. I'm not exactly sure how old Bruce Willis is. But Eli Roth, you're not a fan.
No. Oh no.
He's
no,
the director.
No.
And I don't know. He needs this to be a good movie. He does. After the missteps.
Dude, oh my God, dude, really? Yeah, Eli Roth has. I don't like any of his movies. I'm serious. I wanted to because I know that I like Eli Roth because of his love for horror films.
You like him, but
I
you
like him.
Movies.
I would love to hang out with him
Yeah,
and have him come over and drink some coffee and
Yeah.
relax, watch a movie.
Yeah.
But I just don't like his movies.
See, I like several of them. I do. But yeah,
Green Inferno was
Green
not one
Inferno
of them.
might be his worst actually.
Yeah.
It was a huge misstep, huge missed opportunity to do a devastatingly fucking awesome jungle horror movie. He missed the mark. Knock Knock. I have to say, did you see Knock Knock?
No, I haven't.
You need to see it.
Okay.
It's a sex exploitation movie.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Set with the modern touches, with only Keanu Reeves is in it.
I like Keanu Reeves though.
You need to see it. It's
Knock
a takeoff of a '70s movie which is a takeoff of an even earlier movie. I've seen the first movie where this came from, called Little Miss Innocence. Then there was the second movie called Death. Oh, I can't think of it right now. I've talked about it before on the podcast, by the way. It had Sandra Locke in it, Clint Eastwood's ex, earlier on, when she was super hot in this movie. Knock Knock comes from this, the same kind of storyline about two beautiful girls who just kind of happen upon this guy's house one night who's married and, blah, 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 and what happens. But the thing is, yeah, people really didn't like Knock Knock, and people really also didn't like Green Inferno. So he kind of needs Death Wish to deliver, and I definitely hope it does. The trailer is uneven, and I don't know. I'd like to see what you people think about it. I posted it on our Facebook page, and hopefully the movie delivers. We'll see what happens. I'm a huge fan of the original Death Wish, so yeah. Couldn't keep it going for that long.
That's cool. Glad it is.
We'll do a little rewind.
Yeah, no problem. Is Knock Knock available on? Can you check it out like on iTunes?
Yeah, you can get it. Yeah,
all right, cool.
You can.
Right.
I want to see what you think of it. It's different. It's definitely different.
I'll watch it tonight. I got nothing going on tonight.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
The
ending is very weird.
So is it like kind of like a giallo or something like that?
No, it's not a giallo. It's not a horror movie. It's like, it's an exploitation kind of like sexy thriller, but it's not a giallo. No one's murdered really.
Oh.
No, I mean,
so
not
it's
really.
Like psychological.
There's someone. There's one kill. There's one person killed.
Okay.
There is one person killed, but it's not. It's just like a messed up movie. But some people loved it and some people hated it.
I'll check it out.
It has the girl. One of the stars in it is now his wife. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, because I definitely the name Eli Roth doesn't give me a lot of confidence though. But the original Death Wish was great. Death Wish 2 was awesome. It had Jimmy Page soundtrack.
Amazing.
Jimmy Page scored it.
And that first movie, man, is such a great kind of time capsule of what was going on in New York.
One of the things though that was the darkness of Death Wish, right? Do you think they're still going to go the same length?
I hope so, because if you recall in Death Wish, when Paul Kersey, Charles Bronson's character, kills his first person, he goes home and throws up, and he's like he can't believe what he just did, and he portrays that really well, and you feel that. You feel his fucking like, what did I just fucking do? You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the reason I think what made that movie so great was because he wasn't some cop diesel fucking killing machine. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was a normal guy who had a wife and a daughter. He was just this regular guy.
He's an architect in that film, right?
In the 70s. He didn't want any damn trouble. He didn't want any of this shit. And all that horrible thing happens to him and his wife and family. And the cops do nothing. And the man is just left with no choice. Apparently in the book, I never knew there was a book. I only learned recently there's a book. The book conveys that even more, actually.
Huh.
And the struggle. And it is not so much, apparently the book isn't even so heavy on the revengey aspect. I don't know, I want to read the book. It's from 72, and the movie's from 74. I never even knew there was a book.
Neither did I.
Probably very hard to get, much like the Cruisin' book. There's a Cruisin' book.
I read the book actually.
It's like $100 book.
Yeah, ages ago I read it. Yeah. I think I might have it somewhere.
I'd like to read it. I heard that was actually pretty messed up, the book. Actually.
Yeah, it was great.
But, a lot of these 70s film books are impossible to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, fingers crossed there. You haven't seen the trailer?
Well, I know it's on our Facebook page.
Oh, okay, you gotta check it out.
And the trailer, I saw it, and I was
you did
like,
see it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, but who knows? Imagine it makes money. It could be a hit. Who the hell knows?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, but some people are upset about that too. By the way,
what?
That's a whole other story.
About what? Making money?
No, about death, about the whole death.
Oh, fuck that, dude!
It's out of control.
Fuck these people.
Yeah.
What the hell? What kind of world are we living in, Mike?
I think these people probably have never even seen a revenge movie, or not even familiar with the concept of the original Death Wish. They don't even know.
You know what, man? If you don't like it, that's great.
Yeah.
But just don't fucking judge anyone for liking something.
Yeah, leave everything alone.
Yeah, leave it. It's like, why can't someone else like something?
Yeah.
No one's getting hurt.
No, exactly.
Fucking, it doesn't. I don't know, man. It's just what kind of world is this coming to, man? I'm like disappointed in that.
Well, we at Necromaniacs believe in logic and common sense
and freedom.
And freedom. Yes, but that's the thing. I mean, we're of a certain age. We're in our 40s. We look at things a bit differently. We've been through things, and I definitely just see the world in a different way. Grew up a bit different. It is what it is, and I think some people obviously relate to that, obviously, and some people, we're coming from a different place. So, but you have to be mindful and open and respectful and not just shut your mind to everything. You know what I'm saying? And less judgmental. That's what I think, right?
There's a lot of things I see around me that I don't like.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to say you can't do those things.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's not a question of can't do.
Yeah.
You can do. But don't tell me not to do something. That's what I'm saying, right? Don't tell, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Just like the Ween song, there's many colors in the homo rainbow, And it takes all kinds of people out there, man.
Yeah.
All kinds of folks
I
to
like
do
that there's all kinds of people. That's the thing. I don't want one kind of people, man.
No, man.
I don't want just one thought. I don't want one universal, way of things. I want differences. I want differences of opinions. I want different, I want you to tell me a movie sucked when I say it's great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Come on. Not everything is great. Not everything is awesome. So, yeah. We're off on a tangent, people.
Yeah, but it's important to vent a little bit on some of this stuff, especially, after some of the movies we covered on this episode. Some people have there's some criticisms that have gone on about certain levels of extremity that some of these films have hit, and certain concepts that people aren't comfortable with. It's an uncomfortable world, man.
Yeah, I think some of these people would just literally would explode if they watched some of the movies of the 70s and early 80s.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man.
They would just burst into flames watching Cannibal Holocaust, Last House on the Left.
Yeah.
Maybe even Cruising.
Even back in the day when Cruising came out, there was a lot of controversy.
Yeah, it was. But it's funny though. At the time, again, that movie's viewed a little bit differently now. Yeah. People actually, they view it a bit kinder, actually.
Well, rightly so. Not right. I can understand the sensitivity that the gay community had, when the movie came out, because it does show a certain offshoot of gay lifestyle.
And I think it's finally time to cover the damn movie, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
I think we've mentioned it a dozen times.
And in some of these asides, we've talked about it quite a bit. So maybe next episode.
I think we're going to finally cover Cruising, and it's time. It's in a lot of ways it is like an American Giallo film. So it's on that great list out there on the internets of 20 films that are could be American Giallos. I don't know if that's the exact title of that, but it's this great list out there that I think it might even be 20 Giallo-inspired American films.
Yeah, something
that's
like
one
that.
of them.
I remember reading that.
Yeah. It's time to finally put that puppy out there. Unfortunately, though, I think that DVD that came out in 07 or 08 is I think it's out of print again. I have it too, but I want people out there to be able to see it.
But I think
believe me, it's out there. You can find it.
You can find it on probably iTunes or something like that.
Yeah, I think it might be out there. But it is great, and it's a great performance from Pacino. It's got great music. It's got some great character actors in there. Joe Spinell's in it.
My favorite.
Paul Sorvino from Goodfellas is in it.
Yeah.
And Karen Allen, lovely Karen Allen is in it. So it's a cool movie. James Remar is also in it. A lot of people are in this movie, so it's definitely Necromaniacs material.
My friend Alex looks like the murderer in that movie.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah,
that's some dark stuff there.
Yeah, he's like
or who we think is the murderer.
Yeah, when I first met my friend Alex, I'm like, this guy looks so familiar, man. Where the fuck do I know him from? And then I put two and two together. I'm like, he looks like what the alleged
murderer, yeah.
In Cruising.
Oh, because one of the great things about it is at the end you really you don't know who the goddamn killer is. It's pretty great. It's pretty cool. It's frustrating, but it's pretty cool.
So We'll cover that.
We will cover
next episode, we cover cruising.
Yes, you all already out there know what one of the next movies is going to be. But thank you all again. This is a wrap for Necromaniacs 22, and we will see you all next time. You'll hear us all next time. But I like saying we'll see you all next time. Later.
Have a good day.
case we, there's always actors, actresses, blah, blah, blah. Brain freezes.
That one chick is in
Girls. Girls, yes. And she is Brian Williams' daughter.
No shit.
From NBC, the guy who was fired from NBC for lying. Yeah, she's hot. I think she's hot.
She's hot, like in a way.
In this neighborhood,
yeah, like in a way, exactly.
She looks like a girl that's walking around this neighborhood.
But in a way where like you would never ever really want to get to know her, though. You know what I mean? Like that's how.
There's a scene in Girls of her getting her ass eaten. There's like this hot scene, like this sex scene. The dude is like, I mean, it's shot in a way where HBO gets away with it just enough. Yeah. But it's pretty sick scene, actually. She's like bent, she's standing like against something, and the dude is bent down, and the dude's face is like there.
Her ass. Wow.
It's probably the only reason to watch Girls. That one.
Yeah, that show's garbage, dude.
Oh,
and it's like, and you know, that's what ruined this neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you know, like when I first moved here, man, it wasn't anything like that.
No. What year did you come here?
Like 2008, like when the shop was open.
It was just getting there. Just get well. It had already begun in Williamsburg.
Yeah, Williamsburg was shot by then.
This neighborhood, no,
no,
dude, on the corner from me, it was all scumbags. 2008.
Yep.
I remember. Yeah, there was no. It was not what this became. Yeah, all the stores that are here were not there.
When I first came here, there was literally 2 restaurants. There was Brooklyn Label had just opened up, and there was another place called the Greenpoint Cafe.
Okay.
And that was here forever. Yeah. And then on Manhattan Avenue, there was like
all this other stuff that was here. No.
And there was never these like white women like that walking around here. It was like kind of like a lot of like kind of like 2-man advantage motherfuckers lived here. It was like people in punk, you know.
And Paul lived across the street.
Paul Delaney from and it's just like now it's just like all like fucking.
You're like
I'm
the
minority. I'm the minority.
Musician.
Yeah.
Artists, musicians, probably not a lot.
Nope.
Yeah.
No
Probably
way.
not a lot anymore. Huh.
Yeah.
What a shame. What a fucking shame.